'cause I like talking to people, yeah. Hello everyone, Indigo Moon here. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if this is your first time. Today I wanted to talk about OCD. Now, disclaimer here, I am not a licensed mental health professional, nor do I have a degree in psychology. All that I'm going to talk about today is just anecdotal about my own experiences. I have studied some psychology in order to figure out kind of what I'm going through and because it interests me, but if you need help, seek professional help. This is just informational, hopefully entertaining in some way, useful for you. If not, glad you're here. I'm going to give you just a brief rundown about the whole history of my mental health. I have generalized anxiety disorder. Anxiety began showing up the summer before my senior year of high school, when I got my first panic attack. I was 17. Then after I graduated high school the next summer, I was 18 and got a diagnosis of depression along with it. A few months into therapy, we also figured out that I had OCD. Now, I'm 22. I have a new therapist. He's actually a psychiatrist, and he figured out that my depression isn't actually depression, it's bipolar disorder. Depression is just way more present in my day-to-day than the mania is. It's like always there. OCD is one of the trickier ones in a slew of my mental health. It's very intertwined, like braided into the anxiety and depression. Part of this video is to destigmatize OCD a little bit and to show that not everyone is a germaphobe constantly washing their hands. I don't have that obsession or compulsion, so I can't explain it. And those are legit things that some people with OCD have. I do struggle with that sometimes when I clean. If I'm gonna clean, it has to be good. But I want to show you that OCD manifests differently in every single person who has OCD's life. Compulsions and obsessions can be anything. Let's start off first by defining OCD. OCD stands for Obsessive Compulsive Disorder. In the DSM-V, which is the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, 5th edition, that's the most updated edition that psychologists and doctors use, and it has definitions of each mental disorder we are aware of and have defined up to this point. It's what they use to give people diagnoses. It's what kind of shows you the difference between you're going through something terrible, a loss, a heartbreak, you just got laid off from your job, versus you have chronic depression, which is there every day, and perhaps is staying for years. Obsessions are defined in the DSM-V as follows: recurrent and persistent thoughts, urges, or images that are experienced at some times during the disturbance as intrusive and inappropriate, and that cause marked anxiety and distress. Compulsions are defined as follows: repetitive behaviors, example, hand washing, ordering, or checking, or mental acts, example, praying, counting, repeating words silently, performed in response to an obsession or according to rules that must be applied rigidly. The behaviors are not a result of the direct physiologic effects of a substance or general medical condition. So what that last part means, it says the behaviors are not a result of the direct physiologic, so bodily, effects of a substance or a general medical condition. So for example, there are several illnesses that make you shake, that make your hands go like this, or if you have like low blood sugar, you're hypoglycemic, I know that can happen with that. So that isn't a compulsion, that's a direct result of a condition. I also have a friend whose medication makes her hand shake. So let's go and break this down. Obsessive Compulsive Disorder. There are two different factors here. obsessions and compulsions. Obsessions are thoughts and images that are intrusive. My therapist also defines this as rumination. And then compulsions are repetitive behaviors, rituals. They're usually performed to relieve the stress and anxiety that the obsessions bring on. And this is why OCD, for me, is very intertwined with anxiety and depression, especially anxiety, because I feel anxious about something. OCD comes in and says, what about this? What about this? I can't fix it. I can't fix it. And then anxiety blows it up and is telling me, this is life or death. Like, we have to do something. And then, in order to alleviate the stress and the fact that my brain can't get rid of it, the compulsions set in. And that will, like, for example, if I'm worried about offending a coworker, I'll just think over the conversation over and over again, and I'm just like, I have to fix this. And so I'll go up to them and obsessively be like, are you sure you're okay? Are you sure you're all right? A way that my first therapist explained OCD is disorder in your brain that determines whether a thought is useful or not is broken. And so you have to manually go through and figure it out. So imagine a conveyor belt, and there's a robot arm there that's saying, this piece of information is useful, we're going to keep it. And someone who doesn't have OCD's mind, it makes way less mistakes in saying, this is not useful, this is not good for us, throw it in the trash. And someone who has OCD, the robot arm is basically like, keep it all. And I absorb all sorts of information. In my case, I absorb things like advice. And I don't know how to keep what I want and leave the rest. So for example, I grew up very religious, and my religion really stressed the importance of do your best and God will do the rest. However, I felt like I could never do enough. I didn't know how to draw the line. It taught that every good thought came from God. And I didn't realize that some thoughts come from OCD, which is neither God nor Satan. It's the robot arm in my brain doesn't know how to sort through the things in my brain. And also, like, I'm a really empathetic person, so I'm even more prone to feeling like I have to do everything for everyone. And this is a good trait in moderation. But at this point in my life, I did not know how to moderate it. I saw a piece of trash on the ground. I think it was a Tootsie Roll wrapper. I picked it up and threw it away. That's awesome. I'm helping the world be better one piece of trash at a time. However, every time I saw a piece of trash, I'd be like, oh, I have to pick that up. I have to pick that up. And it would waste a lot of time in my day. I began to realize kind of how silly that was, because I realized I can't waste my time doing this. Then it kind of shifted to things more like, I just have to read one more verse of scripture, one more verse of scriptures, one more verse. I'm so tired, but I just gotta read one more verse. And then I'd be like, well, I'm so tired, and I just reread that verse 5 times and I got nothing out of it. I'm a sinner because I didn't get a huge spiritual meaning out of that. What am I gonna do? Oh my goodness, this is terrible. I'm such a terrible person. I need to go through it again, but I'm so tired. So I go to sleep, and then the next day go to school. And then the next night when I'm about to read my scriptures again, I'm like, oh man, I did so terrible last night. I gotta make this goal and resort to being better. And then if I didn't do better, if I didn't read as much as yesterday, because I was so exhausted, especially from doing my freaking AP chemistry homework, which literally took me usually 5 to 6 hours, I just was way too exhausted to read my scriptures. And I had Philharmonic Orchestra practice at 5:30 in the morning, so I would get up at 5 after having gone to bed at 2 because I procrastinated my homework and it was really hard, and I felt like a terrible person. I felt like God was disappointed in me, and I knew that God loved me. That was something that they also really taught in the church, which was amazing. I think that's a great thing to teach, but I felt like he was a disappointed dad. And you see the imbalance here. Can you see how ridiculous that is? That's OCD. Obsessing over not being good enough. And that is my main obsession. That's at the core of my OCD. It's usually not being good enough. Whether it's, a Christian, a daughter of God, a sister, a cousin, a niece, a daughter, a wife, a friend, a student, a YouTuber, an artist. And then to relieve it, I would do things like read one more scripture, pick up one more piece of trash, and they became rituals that I had a really hard time stopping. That's the other thing about OCD is the rituals, the compulsions, they're really hard to not do. They're addicting. And they relieve the obsessions, the anxiety from the obsessions temporarily, but ultimately they don't work. And that's why it's a disorder. Because it's something that is stuck to you and doesn't make you feel better. Here's another example of a compulsion for me. I'm very much a perfectionist, and this is a pretty common thing among people who even don't have OCD. This is just one of the things I kind of can pick out from my childhood. I would compare myself to my friends who got 4.0s in high school and in junior high. And then, when I was younger, I was in 4-H, and with my sewing and my embroidery and whatever crafts we were doing, it never seemed good enough. Even if other people complimented it, I couldn't see the good in it, and it just keeps getting more and more extreme. One time I stole chapstick from Macy's. I think it was Macy's. I felt so awful about stealing that one chapstick. It haunted me for years. I had the chapstick in my room for years, and I finally threw away the chapstick, and it's okay. Now I would like to move on to another compulsion. And I remember thinking about this compulsion when I was around 18. I was in the car with my boyfriend at the time, and I was thinking, I wonder if this is something unique just to me. That's kind of cool. And then when I learned I had OCD and realized how much of a pattern this is, I was like, actually, yeah, this is unique to me. This is a compulsion. When you pop your ears and you kind of like do that? When altitude changes, like you're driving in the mountains or you're flying on an airplane, I would do it again and again and again, multiple times a day. I did this during my study abroad in Italy just last month. And it starts hurting after a while. If you're someone who has ever popped your fingers for a while, it starts hurting, right? Another compulsion that I've had for even longer than the jaw popping thing is counting letters in a word and counting them. Okay, here's an example. This helped me one time in a game in high school. You had to spell a word backwards, and since this was my compulsion, I was really good at it. So I remember the word was library. Library. Backwards. Yrabil. I visualized the word in my mind. It's kind of cool. It's kind of like a superpower in a way, but it easily takes over my mind. Like while I'm walking to the bus to go to my classes, I'll think of a word. Now, I don't know if you picked up on this, but I said the word library like this. Libray. Library has 7 letters. If it's an odd number, I split it into equals on both sides and then have a middle. 3 letters, Lib, 1 letter, R, 3 letters, ARY. If it's an even word, like indigo, INDIGO, I just split it in half. MISSISSIPPI, IPPISSISSIM. And then I take it even further. I'll think of the plural of a word. So, libraries. LIBRARIES. That changes it into 9 letters. That's kind of nice. What if it was the library's book? That is an ownership word, so it's LIBRARY'S. And I count the apostrophe as a letter. Oh man, this is already flipping me out. I should put a trigger warning before I do these compulsions. It might trigger some people to start doing them. Don't do that! And then I do things with patterns, especially if I see house numbers. So let's say 2255 is the house number. 2255, 5522, 2525, 5252, 2552, 5225. I don't know if the superpower portion of it is worth the annoyance of having it stuck in your head all the time. And then once I get going, I have to see it to completion. Otherwise, I'm uncomfortable. Now, this one is really funny. Have you noticed that when you walk on sidewalk, you can feel the cracks under your feet? Well, if I walk on a crack with my left foot, and I keep walking and my left foot hits it again, I'm like, that's not even. That's another thing with OCD, is a lot of people have a symmetry thing. So like I said, if I hit a crack with my left foot and then I'm just walking and I hit it again, because I'm walking normally, I'm like, oh, I gotta do it twice with my right foot. So I'll do little steps to get my right foot in front, and I'll hit it with my right foot, and then hit it with my right foot again, and then I can be like, okay, left, right. And it's so annoying. I try really hard to make myself stop doing it, but sometimes it's hard. Another more mild one that I feel like a lot of people maybe without OCD might experience, maybe not. You'll have to let me know in the comments below if you experience this or not, and whether or not you have OCD. I don't even remember what I was going to say. Oh, I'll play out conversations in my head. So a lot of the time, if I'm obsessing over a conversation because I'm worried that I offended someone, I'll think about it over and over again. Or if someone made me mad, and I like rarely stand up for myself, so I'll think about it over and over again, and what could I have said different, and this really badass comeback that I thought of after the fact. You know, that annoying thing when you always think of the good comebacks later. So, mental disorders don't have all cons. There are some pros. Like the Beast says near the end of Split, the broken are the most evolved. And I believe that to an extent. I also believe in working your butt off to... Oh, no. I also know the difference that hard work makes. You don't have to go through all the crap that all of us go through. That's why I have a YouTube channel. I want to share my experiences so that you can kind of learn about them and you can tell me yours. And then I don't have to go through what you went through. Then I've gained new knowledge. But, yeah. It's kind of fun to see the pros and things, too. I think my mania with my bipolar, it makes me get a lot of shit done. So as long as I kind of recognize that I'm manic and make sure I'm being careful not to push my body too hard, because that's one of the big problems for me with my mania. Oh, this is one thing that I saw growing up, is I would always, every few weeks or months, I would get in this mood where I was like, I'm going to clean my whole entire room. And I was a hoarder as a kid. I had a crap ton of stuff. And so I would like pull everything out, get ready to organize it. And a few hours later, the mania would wear off. The high is down. And I'm just in a regular mood or a little bit of a depressed mood. And my room stays a mess for weeks or months on end because your girl don't want to organize that shit. So, I think I'm going to wrap it up for today. Mental health awareness and sharing my experiences. Okay, I love you all. Thanks for tuning in today. Please share your experiences with me in the comments below. If you have OCD or if you've experienced any of the compulsions or obsessions that I go through, especially if you have anxiety, you probably relate to a lot of the obsessions I mentioned. Or if you're a perfectionist, also. Follow me on Instagram. I post my art there. I also have another Instagram where I post my photography, and then I post poems that I put along with the photography in the caption. So I'll link both of those below. Okay, love you all. Bye!